Hello, friends, human design students, those of you right on the edge of falling down the human design rabbit hole, and anybody who just likes the I Ching for whatever reason, and whoever else showed up here. Unique human, welcome. I'm Isa Silver. I'm a unique human, pretty weird one. I call myself a human design translator because I help people who don't know the languages around human design understand what their body graph means. And because I'm a translator, I'm always studying the languages, and that's what I'm doing today. I'm going to look at the ways to talk about intuition and courage through the 6 frequencies of each of those gates, each of those hexagrams. I happen to carry both of them. And what's particularly interesting about the polarity today is that 51 and 57 will play a bigger role in humanity's overall story after 2027. And maybe we're already noticing that. If you're not aware of the locks and keys and the changes happening in 2027, you are welcome to message me about that. There's a lot of education out there, but basically humanity has been through a cycle in the past 400 years where the plan and the example for all of humanity were growth and continuity. Okay, we should make more and we should stay the same. That's how we're going to be good humans. That was the story for the last 400 years. Grow more and keep the things in the tribe consistent so we know what's going on. But in the future, that will not be the story for humanity. And if you will notice, growth is a confusing thing in humanity right now. Continuity is, well, do we even know what continuity is? But in the future, the plan won't be growth, it will be courage. And the example won't be continuity, it will be intuition. And in particular, the frequencies, the 6 line frequencies, will be thrown in our face, or are they already meeting us? I don't know. But that's why this polarity is so interesting to me this week in particular, beyond the fact that I carry it. So let's get into the details. Let's learn a little more about intuition and courage. And we're going to do that by looking at the 6 lines of intuition, the 6 lines of courage, and we're going to go through it line by line. Because to me, in my process of learning these gates, these frequencies, the polarity is most interesting to me. The polarity is what keeps the wheel round. Intuition balances out experience. Intuitive cleansing balances out ego withdrawal. Intuitive acuteness without mind balances out the adaptation of 3rd line courage, and so forth. Let's get into the words, shall we? Where were we? Let's start here. The foundation of intuition. It's called intuition. Oh, that's really creative, isn't it? Well, how do we talk about it? This intuition is in all living things, basically. The plants, the animals have it. Gate 57. The middle path is to intuitively grasp the inner meaning. Intuitively, beyond mind. There is no mind here. And what this means is that on the dark side of this expression, the shadow expression, will be no intuition. There will be confusion and indecisiveness because feelings will get in the way. But on the bright side of this foundation line is penetrating to the inner meaning, but not through the mind, not through feelings. And what balances out intuition is experience. This is willpower. This is strength derived from the experience of crisis and shock. This is not right now. This is built on the past. This helps me think that there's like kind of an all-time situation going on in the willpower center. Isn't that the case? Isn't the willpower kind of like over all time? So experience comes from, or rather, yeah, experience comes from having been through experience. That's where the foundation of courage comes from, having been through crisis and shock before. Now, the natural at intuition, cleansing, middle path, clarity and determination for values and ideals comes from inner cleansing. But this values and ideals, they're not mental and they're not moral. They come from getting rid of everything that gets in the way of intuition and not sweeping the dirt under the rug, balanced out by ego withdrawal. Now, the middle path is withdrawal when the strength is threatened by shock. The strength, the inherent strength of the ego, is that what that is? Isn't it interesting that the natural of courage is one that's not going forward because one learns through some pain, I'm sure, because there's a lot of pain involved in courage. The natural one learns that, oh, actually, withdrawing is a good idea. I will preserve my ego power by not being courageous right now. The experiencing of intuition, acuteness, blue line, the middle path, acuteness of perfected intelligence. How can intelligence be perfected? Through third line experience? Is that how it goes? The bright side is the impressive intelligence where clarity eliminates doubt and ensures manifestation. I don't know how the word manifestation got in here, but let's just go to the other side. What is the polarity of intuitive acuteness? It's ego adaptation. It's the ego that has been through it before and realizes it might need to adapt to survive. Adaptation out of the strength of spontaneity. Interesting. Spontaneity. Why is that being referenced in Gate 51? The third line had to go through some destabilization and some pain and learn about adaptation. But isn't that a good strength to have on your side, the strength of spontaneity? Now, to get into the networking frequency, the opportunistic frequency of intuition, sensitiveness. Isn't that funny? The opportunistic intuition is one that will notice the other people around. Those first three lines, they did not notice that other people were around. But to master relationships with sensitivity is what the fourth line can do here. Now there's a shadow to this, and I think it's interesting. The dictator who uses their intuitive clarity to strengthen their own authority. A kind of taking advantage of the fact that you know in the moment and somebody else doesn't? Or is this more about the bright side, the ability to master relationships on the basis of intuitive clarity and sensitivity? Potentially, there's a bright side. Now, how does that come out in the ego side? Improvisation. The genius to find opportunities, even in the midst of shock, is the middle path here. The warrior who might discover and use what's available in the moment, even in shock. Networking, the ability to be courageous, maybe even needing the others to be courageous. Progression. Sure sounds collective, doesn't it? Well, I guess there is a collectiveness to the fifth line, right? I don't have a lot of them myself, but we wouldn't have human design without the progression of Ra Uru, personality based. In Gate 57, line 6, the middle path is development based on intuitive evaluation. On the bright side is creating new forms, continually re examining and reassessing the situation. But guess what? The fifth line, it can get thrown off track. It can be in action and then not notice what's really going on. Sounds a little bit like what can happen in the fifth line of courage. Instinct, instinctive adaptation in times of shock is the potential here. Shadow brought out by Mars, the egoism to indulge in victory and lose vigilance. I have seen this in action in a Gate 51 Gate 51, line 1, personality sun, in fact. Somebody that you expect is going to survive the shock and go through it, but they don't. And they get lost and overwhelmed. But on the bright side is the perfection of the warrior who, by instinctive adaptation and use of major forces, the major forces of thunder, this is thunder over thunder in the traditional I Ching, even knows how to ride the wave of the shock. In my experience, I would say the Gate 51, line 5 is looking for the shock, is inviting the shock, is seeking the shock, and then riding it, hopefully, but they don't always. And maybe that's what the sixth line can see, is that the fifth line doesn't always make it. Utilization. Based on intuitive problem solving. Utilization based on intuitive problem solving is the sixth line here. The polarity, or rather the duality, is recognizing, well, what can I say? Here's my personality, Earth. And, seeing the whole scene of intuition doesn't really help all the time. And so on the bright side is the ability to make the best out of a situation, as one accepts that intuition will not always make a successful process. And then there can be an immature expression of that brought out by Mars, the angry disappointment that comes with recognizing that intuitive clarity might not avoid the futile action. And this, my friends, is what in the future? Let's see. Utilization. It's the example in the future. It's seeing that you can only make the best out of the situation. And even if you know what's going to happen, you can't necessarily make it better. But if you're immature about it, if your Martian side's coming out here, then you're going to do shit, recognize that it's futile, and just do it and be angry doing it. And yeah, my story on this one has to do with carrying garbage. There have been 2 times in my life in the past 3 years where I carried so many bags of other people's garbage. One of them was in Mexico, one of them was in Portugal, one of them was a collective scattering of garbage, another one was an individual collecting of it. And I just happened to have the energy, or what the F, I don't know, but I just carried, if I add them all up, close to 40 bags of garbage, at least 35 bags of garbage. And yet I knew in doing it that it wouldn't matter, that there was no fixing anything. Like temporarily, the road was going to look better, and temporarily, somebody's house was going to be cleaner. But the same situation that caused all that garbage to build up was going to happen again. And boy, was I angry. It was the last time I really felt anger, like really, really in me. Yeah. You can clean up somebody else's garbage, but they're going to live in their own garbage for the rest of their life. That is not a fun thing to recognize. Well, let's go to the more bright side, shall we? Separation. Shall we ground ourselves in separation? Because that's how you can get away from other people's garbage. The line is, or the middle path is, the power to face challenges alone. And on the bright side is the willpower and the vitality in times of crisis, to meet challenges alone and not succumb to the general panic. Well, let's see what kind of role that's going to play in the future. That's going to be the plan. The plan is separate, face challenges alone. And what it's been in the past 400 years for humanity is growth. The plan has been just grow more and things will be better. That's the way to do it. The plan is grow. But the future doesn't involve growth as the plan. It involves courage as the plan, with basically enduring shock, going through experiences of shock, learning that there's no point in being too brave about shock. Just like save your ego if you need to. If you get to do a bunch of trials and errors with shock, then you'll grow, you'll adapt. With other people, you'll improvise. To be the fifth line, you'll have instinct. And in the sixth line, you'll say, yeah, maybe it's just not worth anything. Maybe I just go alone. Maybe I just go alone and be careful. That's the lesson here. So back to 12 blue lines. We're at the end of the 12 blue lines. I have been using the blue I Ching for the text here today. And just in case you have never seen your human design chart, here it is. And a little bit more about me. Well, I've made this video for Substack because I finally started a Substack. And the whole point is to stay human through these changes that are happening in the next, well, already happening. The changes that I showed you about in 2027, they're major, but we're already feeling them. And they're going to take us, well, they're going to program humanity away from being human. And I think being human's pretty cool. So I started this Substack called Stay Human. And the educational component of it is 12 blue lines that you've been listening to, using the blue I Ching to help me understand all of those frequencies. And then I do something a little more hilarious, even though it's pretty funny already. The Chutzpah I Ching is where I use the text of the Rave I Ching, the one written by Ra Uru Hu, the founder of human design, and where I use the shocking language that he put there, and I play with it, not as a teacher, but as an experimenter. And if you're interested in us understanding human design better and you think I could be part of that, would you like to send me a message? Thanks for being here today and helping me have a reason to learn human design more deeply, to learn the gates, to help me remember that even though humanity is changing really rapidly, the sun and the earth are still going to follow the same patterns and the same lines are going to be repeated. And maybe we can learn something from them. Thanks for being here. Until next time.